So in the first two prakrim, he kind of sold us on a beautiful idea that the reason we're struggling so much, of course, we have to fight the Yetzer Hara and we have to try to do mitzvahs. But that's on this level of darkness. But we could also, dim the lights up. And if we raise the light in our mind to be more connected to Hashem, then automatically those battles are not going to be the same level of battle anymore. And therefore, this is why this is why Hashem went ahead and He gave us luminaries. He gave us power plants to draw light from. He didn't leave us stranded. He's like, if I'm going to put you down on earth and you have to find me, it's never going to happen. We need help. So He gave us things not to make our lives more difficult and complicated and bog us down. He gave us luminaries. He gave us power plants. He gave us, I have over here, I don't know if you could see it. See that huge spotlight? To create light so that we'll have light, spiritual light in our minds, and the seesaw will tilt, right? We have to tap into it, though. Now, what are these things, right? He gave us Torah mitzvahs, v'inyanim suguliyim, and certain special things that are meritorious. They're going to bring us skula miyuchadim specifically, and we're going to learn what they are. Hamakrinim me'oram lahayr moichem v'libim shel Yisrael, that shine from their light in order to enlighten the mind and heart of every Jew. Number one, Rosh l'kol hu koach haTorah HaKadoshah. The Torah is not a textbook. The Torah is not a dry manual. The Torah is not a subject. The Holy Torah has in it the ability to shine light on those that learn it. Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or. A mitzvah is like a candle that gives light, limited light, like a flashlight. Torah is like but someone who's connected to Torah is like kivin sheheir hayoim nitzil mikulam tizrach Hashem Mashiach seifun. It means the sun comes out. One is a flashlight in a dark room, which is very helpful compared to being in a dark room. And the other one is turning on the lights. A mind who's connected to Torah, which he's going to talk about, is a mind that has light in it. What happens when you have light enlightened in your mind? All the good stuff. What happens when you don't tap into the lights that Hashem gives you? All the bad stuff, the seesaw. So of course we have more sin. Of course we're more miserable. Of course we have more losses. And this way we have more victories with less fighting. Because there's clarity, so it's easier to win. So we're investing our energy to tapping into the luminaries instead of having the energy of fighting every single fight. And they're still going to fight because the higher Kalshi, Gadol, Yitzhar Gadol, it's not so simple. But it's a different type of fight because you have clarity. It says, Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or v'darshu Chazal b'zeh al pasuk, and Chazal teach us, what is it an example of? L'mashal l'mahad avar daima le'echad ha'holich b'cheshkes laila. Like we said before, somebody's going cheshkes laila, it's dark, and he falls into pits and thorns. V'listim b'ayim alav, and all of the people waiting to mug you, they're going to attack you. Kivin sheher hayoim nitzal mikulam haTorah HaKadoshah. This is very important to understand. It's not a subject. Of course, we get schar to learn it, but it's so much more. HaTorah HaKadoshah hi mitzius shel or. The Torah HaKadoshah is a mitzius of or. It is a reality. It's an entity of light. Umeira mecheshke nefesh ruach neshama shel Yehudi. And it lights up the darkness that are in the soul of a Yid. Kiskulasa shel HaTorah, because the merit, the skula of the Torah is lahachnas ba'adam v'hiras hadas u'laharchiv datoi v'hi hadarga shel das Torah. The idea of what the Torah can do to us is if we fill our minds with Torah, and again, we're not going to become black belts overnight, but every drop on the seesaw that we spoke about brings more light into our mind. It gives us, therefore, more clarity, more focus. Come, have a seat. Clarity of the mind. And therefore, laharchiv dartoi, like we spoke before, that when we are in darkness, it's us against every aver. It's us against the lust, us against the desire. We have no vision. We're very limited. There's walls all around us. Laharchiv dartoi, it starts to expand our vision. And that's the bechina of das Torah. And what does it mean, das Torah? Someone who has das Torah, he's seeing a different world than we're seeing. He's not stuck. He's not limited. He's seeing, like we spoke before, about the hot air balloon. He sees the idea, but he also sees the things around it, and he also sees the ramifications. He's living in a whole different planet. And also, it's interesting that when the Torah takes over the mind, even it could surpass the mind of the human being. There are many stories of it. One that I just heard recently of Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, where he said something to somebody, and the person listened to it, and he thought about it, and he said, "So do you mean to say this and this?" And Reb Chaim thought about it, and he said, "Ulai, maybe." He said, as I said it, he explained, as I said these words, I started to think what made me say that, and I started to think, maybe that's probably why I said it. And that's why tzaddikim, when you ask them questions and they're on the level of das Torah, they're not answering you based on their knowledge of business or health, or the Torah is in their brain. They're connected to a different realm. Be'isa b'shem Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov Schus Yegelenu says, Be'inyan Or Agonos. We know that when Hashem created the world, He created it with a spiritual light. He saw that the world cannot exist with this light. Why? Because if everything that we've been learning for the last 2 chapters would be a reality, and everybody would have 100% of Aras Hadas, there would be no reality of materialism in the world, no desires. Yetzer Hara would not be able to convince us to sin ever, because we all know that it's really not a smart thing to do. And there would be no world. There would be no Project Earth. So He hid this light. So where did He hide it? Heichen Ganzu. It says it was hidden in the Torah. On those who learn in the Torah, it's interesting that it says there were 36 hours that this light existed, and it was put into the 36 volumes of Shas. And in the Shas is being connected to that light. We all know of the famous Chizuk Lublin, the famous tzaddik, the Chizuk. And why was he called the Chizuk? Because he was able to see from one side of the world to the other side of the world. And many stories of his Ruach HaKodesh and all of that. And we have many stories in our Dar of Ruach HaKodesh, of so many stories. Where does it come from? This person's sitting, all he has is a Gemara and a Shtender, and he's sitting in wherever, and he's sitting and he's doing this. And then you could ask him questions, and he could say, this person is going to live, this person is going to die. I have personal stories with tzaddikim, unbelievable. Just to open up our minds. There was a family that they had a fire. On a Friday night, the father went to learn in Koil. It's hard to understand. He was spared. But when he got back, his wife and his many children were all taken to the hospital. There was a fire, and it looked like they were all going to die. The Hatzalah member said that when the fireman took the baby and put it in his arms, he said it was like a dead piece of wood. The 2-year-old they were all in comas, and it was very, very bad. He called a certain tzaddik, and the tzaddik gave a bracha refuah shalema for every single one in the family, except for one. And this chassid understood what that meant, and he started crying and begging, and the Rebbe said, ich kann nicht, I can't. And the next day she died. I was at the Levaya. And I saw, with my own eyes, I was in the hospital with the 2-year-old who started to recover but was blind. I saw now, 15, 20 years later, they're all healthy, fully healthy. How does somebody know who's going to live, who's going to die? I had a friend of mine that he went to a Rebbe and Litvaks can do this also, but the Rebbe, I guess we spread it better. See them have more of a spreading it power. They look at all these stories. Where does it come from? He went in with a kvittel to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, you're missing a name. He said, Rebbe, I have 5 children. It's not like I have 12. Maybe I'm missing one. And the Rebbe said, you're missing a name. When he left, he called his wife, and his wife said, I just found out I'm pregnant. And there's so many stories like that. It's Feldnish kind stories. We're not missing stories of tzaddik. Where does it come from? It can't come from, where? What? He's just learning. But the Das Torah, which is a connection to a different world. That the nation was going in the darkness. But Ar Gadol, they saw a great light. Hu ha'or sheniver b'yom harishon. This is referring to the light that was created in the first day of the world. V'ganzu HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'amalei Torah. And I'm going to say it again, and you already know by now what I'm going to say. Don't get turned off and say, well, that's never going to be me. First of all, you never know. But second of all, maybe you're right. This is teaching us how to tap into light and to work on it more and more and more. And that's something we need to focus on. That when we learn and we connect to Torah, it is a source of light. Number 2, B'chein Shabbos Kodesh. And I highly encourage everybody to learn Nesivas Shalom, Chelik Beis. The first part is on Shabbos. At one point, I was zeicher to have a chavrusa every Erev Shabbos for an hour to learn that, to go into Shabbos. To understand that Shabbos Kodesh sounds like a lot of rules, totally missing the point. Most people, it's very sad, even from people, really have no idea what Shabbos is. In fact, I have to give a little bit of, what's it called, self-promotion? That's why I spent years and years writing a book based on Nesivas Shalom called CPR, Resuscitation of the Soul, which is what Shabbos is. It resuscitates our soul. And I made it for teenagers, but it's for everybody. And it's a shame that people can live their whole life and not even know what Shabbos is. Could you believe that some people think that the reason why Hashem made Shabbos is as follows? You finish the world, he worked hard Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Nothing's been created since. All the pieces of the puzzle are there, and he's like, what's it missing? Well, we're going to have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You know what's missing? These Jewish people, when are they going to sleep? I want to create a day, an extra day. I'm going to insert it every 7 days so they can sleep as much as possible because I'm so concerned about their sleep intake. When are they going to eat? When are they going to eat more food in one meal than they do a whole week? How are they all going to be overweight? How are they all going to have the highest cholesterol? How are they going to have a time to drink more than they should, to have like not one type of herring like in the olden days, but today how many types of herring are there, ladies?
A dozen.
In Crown Heights, maybe there's a dozen. Go to the Hungarians, it's 2 dozen. Polish only love schmaltz and matches, that's it. Right, in Queens. In the Stiebel, that's it. But you go pepper crust, so Hashem was like very concerned over our materialistic world that he decided to add a day so we can not have to work because he was worried about us overworking. Jews don't usually overwork, right? That's what we have Goyim for. We hire them to overwork. Like that. That's why Hashem created a world. And he said, by the way, even though you're living with an extra day every week, an extra 52 days, I will give you the same amount of money at the end of the year as if, don't worry about it. And he said, whatever money you spend on that day, I'm going to pay you back for. Because he wanted us to have a day to sleep as much as possible, to overindulge in Gashmias as much as possible. There are people who really think that that's why Hashem created a day of rest. He rested, so we rest. I mean, it's so fundamentally shallow. Hashem needed to rest. He was like, whew, what a week I had. Here for 1 billion years, I did absolutely nothing. And now 6 days in a row, and I'm wiped. I don't know. I need a day of rest. I need to rest, So now, since he rested, so if he had to rest, so for sure we need to rest, and that's why we rest. Nebuch, that there are from people who believe that. So learn Nesivas Shalom Chelik Beis, and if you can't go to the original, I think it's like $22 or $25, and you get a full money-back guarantee if you read it with yourself, your family, your kids, and you don't like it, bring it back to me. Used, I will buy it for you full price. For $25, it's a good deal. CPR, okay? And transform your understanding from the 3rd grade level of what Shabbos is and why Hashem created it to an adult, mature understanding and bake it into your kids. Shabbos is makrina b'Yehudi as ha'aras hadas. Shabbos was created because as we go through the work days of the work week, our spiritual minds become darker and darker and darker and darker. That's the fact of life because we're busy doing the things that we need to do during the week. So Hashem gave us a day full of light. He said, you don't have to do any of those things that you have to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You don't have to do them. So that way, you can tap into the light. You can get your suntan. It's one day to go to the beach and get a suntan. That's what I'm giving it to you for. I want you to be able to retain your color. So Hashem wants us to have Or in our minds, and if we would take out Shabbos out of a few of the weeks in a row, then within 3, 4, 5 weeks maximum, we would not recognize ourselves or see Hashem at all. We would be out. Hashem is meant to bring us back. I'm not going to give a whole shir now on Shabbos, but I got to say, my favorite example that Hashem put into my head. I once went swimming in an ocean, and I don't really swim. I was just like doing, what's that called?
Dog paddle.
Dog paddle.
Dog paddle, just treading water. Just try not to drown, kind of thing, in the shallow water. Pretty much in the shallow. It's up to here, and I'm just like hanging out. After a half an hour, I got out of the water, I went on the beach. You know the mushel? I went on the beach, and the craziest thing happened. All my stuff was gone. My towel was gone. My sneakers was gone. It's unbelievable. But then what was nuts, I looked up, my hotel was gone. I mean, somebody went ahead in just a half an hour, stole my clothing and a hotel. It was unbelievable. I looked up, it's gone. Finally, I looked all the way down, and like a half a mile away was the hotel. Why? Because there's something called an undercurrent. You don't even see it, you don't notice it. And if you don't fight against the undercurrent, you will float. You get schlepped. In the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there is an undercurrent that pulls us away. So the next time I went in the ocean, I got smarter. Every 5 minutes, I looked up, I saw my hotel is there, and I went back. I kept on readjusting. That's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is to go back to the purity that we had and the clarity of Ha'aras Hadas, and to take away from the confusion that makes us float away from our tachlis, our tafkid, why we're here in this world, what our purpose is, and it puts light into our life. Like the pasuk says, Lo das ki ani mikadeshchem. So before we learned the first chapter, we wouldn't know what that means. To know that I am Hashem, to know, but now we know. We learned the first time, what does das mean? I'm not going to tell you, because you have to learn the first chapter, and you know what das is. Das is hakaras habayre. Lo das, I gave this to you so you should have hakaras habayre. So you should know ki ani Hashem mekadeshchem. Because if I didn't give you Shabbos after 6 days or 12 or after a few weeks, it won't take very long, you will have no knowledge that I am Hashem at all, making you holy. Everything will be out the window. Hainu. Shabbos Kodesh yesh ha'aras hadas la'am Yisrael. Shabbos Kodesh gives enlightenment of the mind to Klal Yisrael. That's the purpose of it. And of course, again, that's why the Yetzer Hara, who does not want that, wants to distract us. So he'll do anything possible. He'll call it a kiddush, a bata. He'll do whatever it is, which could be used to bring you more ha'aras hadas, or it could be used to pull us away from accomplishing it. If we leave Shabbos with the same level of ha'aras hadas as we went into Shabbos, then we wasted the whole opportunity that we were given of that 25 hours. Hainu Shabbos Kodesh is a time of ha'aras hadas, enlightenment of mind for Klal Yisrael, like we say, like in Teres Avos, it brings down the Maimer of the Zohar Kodesh that we say, and a lot of people like to sing this. It became a big chazanish. You want to do it? Shtickle. de Shabbos, ihi Shabbos. The secret of Shabbos is Shabbos. What does it mean? The secret of Shabbos is Shabbos. Raz b'gematria Or. What is the secret of Shabbos? It's light. It's the light of the Shabbos. Now you can go through a picture book and it could show you a guy going to shul. No, it'll start off a guy going to the mikveh. Hopefully it won't show a picture in the mikveh, but the guy's going to the mikveh. Then a guy comes out, and then all the preparation and the white tablecloth. It'll show you all of the external stuff. If that's what you get out of it, you're missing the point, because the secret of Shabbos is the connection to Hashem, the light that goes into our minds. V'habir, sheha'or hamevi mishabbos ze ikar yisoid haShabbos, ze ikar soid haShabbos. The light that comes through Shabbos, through these things that we have to do, that is the ikar, main secret of Shabbos. Ve'im shoyim Shabbos, but if you listen to this, very, very important. If you keep Shabbos perfectly, afilu b'chol hachumras ve'adiktukim, with all the chumras and all the extras, you do everything perfectly. Ach einoi margish ha'oris haShabbos, but you don't work to feel the aura, the emotional, spiritual light of Shabbos that it's offering you. Ha'me'ira b'nishmas Yehudi, that is lighting up your neshama. Ha'ikar chaser etzloi. You missed the boat. You missed the main thing. A person can live his whole life, or 50, 60, 70 years, he's medaktik in every halacha, and he's shomer Shabbos, but he didn't get out of it what you need to get out of it, which only comes through doing that. You can't go against the will of Hashem and not be machmir, not be medaktik, and not follow Shabbos, and get the ar. But to do everything and not get the ar, you're missing the point of it all. B'hainu, she'ikar ha'bracha shel Shabbos Kodesh hu ha'oira v'hasimcha. The main bracha, ki mekar ha'bracha, is the light and the joy of Shabbos. Now, we already did number 1. Number 2, we're going to do number 3, then we're going to wrap it up. Oid migarmei akronis ar b'nefesh ruach neshama shel Yehudi. Another amazing focus, I don't know if there's like a better word, a spotlight, a luminary, something that just like sheds light, pushes light into a certain area, right? Into our soul, is the inyan of Eretz Yisrael. Kemerumas b'chazal, avir d'Eretz Yisrael machkim. They're trying to show us that the atmosphere of Eretz Yisrael is machkim, makes us smarter. It does not mean we're better at math. It means that we're smarter. And like it says in Rabbi Yehuda Halevi in his songs, Chai nishmois neshamois avir artsecha. The air of your land is the sustenance of our souls. V'sham evcher lenafshi, it is there that I choose to open my soul. It is there that I choose in Eretz Yisrael to open my soul in the place where the divine spirit is poured upon your chosen ones. And it says in the Kuzri, on the question, it says, we don't really hear about people living in Eretz Yisrael, that they're so much better off than the rest of the world. Right? How could it be that what you're saying is true? The Kuzri already asked this question. We don't really see it. So he says it's like a har shematzliach b'hakerem. It's like a mountain, and there are certain places where the wines are so expensive. Why? Because these vineyards are unbelievable. However, as much as this vineyard is so amazing that it can produce the most expensive wine in the world, if you don't do the work, right? If they didn't plant the grape seeds, and doing the work, that is fitting in order to do this work, you would not get those grapes, that wine. We have a place. We have a place that if we do the work, right, that place will be more matzliach. But you can't have this skula, this extra help. But you can't get this without this place, just like you can't get it. Just like you can't get these fine wines without that special vineyard. But you also can't get the special, even with the vineyard, with the special, if you don't do the work. Same thing with Eretz Yisrael. Medrash Shaychatayv says, if you want to find the Shechina on earth, go learn Torah in Eretz Yisrael. So interesting, Tyrus Avos, you know Tyrus Avos, right? There's two in Yonei and Hagam in Hashemayim. There's two ways that Hashem deals with us. There's one Hanhaga al pi Seidu Uzman. There's one Hanhaga that it's already set up by Rosh Hashanah, but there's another one. There's above that. There's Hanhaga Elois. L'mala mikol Seidu Uzman ve'ene tachas hashpaz malachim. It has nothing to do with the rest of the way that the world is running, and it's not under the angels that are set up and get their instruction on Rosh Hashanah on how to deal with everything. Hashem deals with it alone. And that is dependent on Eretz HaKodesh. Eretz Asher Hashem Alikecha Doirish Isa. This is the land that Hashem Doirish Isa. He wants it. He looks for it. He looks after it. Tamid Eini Hashem Alikecha Ba. Tamid Me'Rosh Hashanah Va'ad Achar Shana. Ve'ena Tluya B'ma Shenikva B'Rosh Hashanah. So Eretz Yisrael also has this same type of thing. U'chutz la'aretz, what do? Mamshichin b'chinas hanhaga zois al yidei zeh shemekaymen v'yispalu elecha derech artzam. Until we're zeicha to be there, we could be mekayim to plug into that by davening towards that means that we think about it and we try to connect to that. And that's why mishum kacha ila rabbeinu hakdoshim zika mufla el eretz hakodesh vayimshtokim tamid la'alis le'eretz hakodesh. There was always a tremendous desire of the tzaddikim. Many stories are brought down. Many lives were lost of tzaddikim who tried to get to Eretz Yisrael. And there are many stories of certain tzaddikim that says Mashiach would have come had they gotten to Eretz Yisrael, and there were different things that blocked them. That is also a source of light. We see it maybe like everything else. We don't see things 100%. Not on Torah, and not by plugging into Shabbos, and not by Eretz Yisrael. But we do see, with the right mindset, how when we are in Eretz HaKodesh, that we can have an aliyah and a clarity that we can't get here in the rest of the Golos. B'kaimu Chazal, B'kaimu Mamar Chazal, and those who can't get there are Mekayim Mamar Chazal, let's say L'Tzion Yomer. As far as Tzion, Israel, Eretz Yisrael, it says Echad HaNoilid Ba, Sai one that is born there, means he's dwelling there, the Echad HaMatzapa L'Roisa, and the one who is yearning to see it. And through that, a person can be mamshich tremendous light. So there were 4 ma'orei or that he gave us in the 3rd chapter to give us all of those things that we spoke about in the 1st chapter and in Aleph and Beis of this chapter. And that is tapping into the spiritual light that Hashem put into Torah, mitzvahs, Shabbos Kodesh, and Eretz Yisrael.